Brook Tate.
Hello. My name is Brook Tate. I was born just up round the corner, just up the road from the TK Maxx, where there used to be a carpet shop. Well, there still is a carpet. Anyway, so I'm going to give a talk about Birthmarked, because I have been marked at birth. The birthmark on my head. Dramatic reveal. Yes, and this mark on my head has kind of shaped and, in a way, saved my life. Dramatic. Dramatic pause. So there's all good stories. There's quite a lot of images, so I'm just going to tell a story. So I'll try and make it easy. There's all good stories, to make it a good follow-through story, we'll start with love stories. First love story is of my Nan Wynne and my granddad Morris, and they were in Eastbourne. And here we have Maud and Laurie in London. It does look like Nan's head is just, she had a body. They fell in love and got married. How nice. And Wynne and Morris had a son called Nick. Maud and Laurie had a very, very cute daughter called Jeanette. Nick and Jeanette grew up, and they met, and they fell in love. Nick and Jeanette got married. Nick thought it would be a very good idea to wear sheer socks to the wedding. He claims that they were highly fashionable. Beautiful photograph, they got married. And Nick and Jeanette had a really, really beautifully gorgeous, really cute son called Brook. And 3 other children. No one cares about them. Joking, we do. The end. Oh, that can't be the end. I forgot a small detail. Let me just flick through history again. My grandparents got married. And they started their lives together. And then there was a knock on the door. Jehovah's Witnesses called on my grandparents in the 1950s, and that marks the beginning of the inclusion of Jehovah and this organisation in my family history. Oh, my voice is going. Who's been called on by Jehovah's Witnesses? Wow, did you? And what did you do? Oh, great. That's quite usual, to be honest. Nothing else really happens apart from that. Yes, so anyway. So a little bit of background about Jehovah's Witnesses. It was founded by this man, Charles Taze Russell, in 1870, who I reckon, and most of us reckon, had good intentions, like most people who start cults. They have good intentions because they just see something that they don't agree with, and he didn't agree with one of the things, the teaching of hell in the Bible. So he stepped away from traditional teachings in Christendom and started his own Bible study group. The word Jehovah comes from this Hebrew word, Yahweh. And the Jehovah's Witnesses translated that as Jehovah. And in 1930, they took on the name Jehovah's Witnesses because there's a scripture, is it in Isaiah, Mum? In Isaiah, that says, you shall be witnesses of me. Then they're talking to God's people. The Jehovah's Witnesses were like, well, he's obviously talking about us, so we are Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the few groups that use the word Jehovah in the Bible, because other religions and Bibles, they've taken it out because it's so respected. But Jehovah's Witnesses put it all back in. Today you see this sign, the blue badge, and you might have been knocked on them as you were, not on them, but knocked on by them. And they have the little trolley tracts with all their magazines. You probably see them down Warrior Square and just near the train stations and everywhere, basically, around the world. And it's changed to this badge. And now it's not just that man, Charles Taze Russell. It got passed to another man in the 30s. And now it's a body of, at the moment, 9 men, in America, surprising, who make all the decisions and can basically, their word is law because they are inspired, so they can make a decision and ultimately change people's lives forever. And here's me, and most of my time, I grew up wearing a little suit. Much younger, it began much younger than that, but I couldn't find a picture on my laptop. But there's me at one of the conventions, the 3-day conventions, where we sit and listen to Bible talks. We thought it was thrilling, but actually when you go back now, you're like, how the hell did we sit through that for 3 days? Anyway, there's me, and nowadays you can get little badges just to make sure you really know who you are. Jehovah's Witnesses. And most of the time, from as soon as I could speak, walk, communicate with people, we were on the ministry, because Jehovah's Witnesses, one of their main things is we have to keep preaching. And if you don't preach, you've got the guilt of your lot's blood on your hands. Because, you're going to die. And if you don't preach, then you're guilty of not spreading the word. There's a phrase, if you had the cure for cancer, would you keep it to yourself or give it to others? No. Well, you've got the cure to everlasting life, so get out there and give it to people. So it's very much guilt-led. And lots of the times, Jehovah's Witnesses are given these illustrations, and the main thing for us, them, and the preaching to get people in, it's like, there's a paradise. You're going to live forever. You can live forever on this beautiful paradise. So we used to walk around and we'd give out this tract and endless Watchtown Awake magazines. A better world is near, and beautiful, highly saturated pictures of people all from all over the world, mostly playing instruments and singing constantly and smiling very, very big smiles, and always living in some kind of forest somewhere, probably in Switzerland, and with the mountains. And there were these kids' books. There was this, I love the kids' books, but I love elephants. Elephants are my favourite animal. For some reason, the only appearance of elephants in their books, they painted them like these disgustingly awful giant elephant shrew things. Like, that's a mouse mixed with a... what is that? What is that? Anyway, but I forgave it because it had a trunk. Anyway, and there's a lion, so also the lion and the lamb, so we genuinely believed and were encouraged to think of ourselves playing with dangerous animals up close, and that would be our goal. Like this woman who's feeding an apple to a leopard, and this people who just going to, give a leopard to a little girl. And you were constantly bombarded with picture yourself in the new system, picture yourself in the paradise. So it's constant imagery to reinforce this teaching. And we didn't think it was crazy. We just thought it was true. And because we believed that if we're a Jehovah's Witness, if I'm a good Jehovah's Witness, I will survive Armageddon and I'll live forever. So technically, we believed that we were kind of living already. Because as long as we were good, we wouldn't be destroyed at Armageddon. I used to believe that I was living forever, and all my family were kind of living forever now. We were just waiting for the paradise. Anyway. But you didn't get told about this. Well, you did actually get told about this, but you lot probably weren't, given the magazines with this in. We were. And this is what we were told the outside world. This is what we were told you were. Basically, if you left Jehovah's Witnesses, you were not going to be protected by Jehovah anymore. You were most likely going to get mugged and have a gun at your head. You were going to get drunk all the time. You were going to lose every kind of health that you had. I don't know. It was just a bad picture, basically, of the outside world and everyone in it. You couldn't trust anyone, really, that wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. And even in court, they was even if they have a court case within their internal court, say it I'll get into the case. Well, actually, I won't talk about it too much, but just the detail. If there's a case of child abuse, and one of the witnesses is not a witness, one of the eyewitnesses or someone is not a Jehovah's Witness, then their word, unfortunately, can't be counted as true. That's how little they trust them. So, the other magazines would walk around going, Armageddon, Armageddon! And you'd be told, Jehovah will destroy the bad ones who do not change. What's your name? Charlotte. One of you lot is them. You're her. This is Charlotte. Joking, not really. But it might be Charlotte's cat. There's a cat there in that picture. I didn't realise when I was younger. Anyway, and they got more and more graphic. The end of the world is literally this. So we'd be going through the magazines and well, God, I really hope I survive. So it was really traumatic for children as well, to be told that this is real. Also in the picture books, this was from the kids' book that we had. It was Jonah and the whale, and growing up near the sea, every time I went out deep, I was like, oh my God, I hope the whale doesn't come swallow me. But because of the kids' books, I loved painting. And I thought, well, I could have a role in this religion. I'm going to learn to paint. So I learned to paint, and I thought, I'm going to paint for those pictures in the magazine so I can paint really nice pictures of elephants with really long, weird mouths, and I can paint pictures of people screaming and dying and going to hell. No, we didn't believe in hell, but being... No. But the joyous news was that despite all this terrifying stuff, if you're a good Jehovah's Witness, Don't worry. When the world's burning and everyone's dying, you can skip merrily away with your family. Just don't look back, and then you'll skip into paradise and everything will be fine. And if someone leaves, including your family, parent, children, sibling, if someone isn't a Jehovah's Witness anymore, and they get destroyed, and they end up in that fire, it doesn't matter anymore because Jehovah will wipe them from your memory. So you won't even remember that you had a sibling. You won't even remember your parents if they don't make it through. So, bye. Around this time, so I spent most of my childhood thinking about Armageddon, paradise. That was pretty much it. And painting, because I love painting, and animals. I loved animals. I'm going to be with an elephant and a lion and a panda in the new system, in the paradise. But when I reached teenagehood, but there was something else in my life. There was some other beast in me that I couldn't put a word on, and it was just to know that I was quite different, and that my difference was bad, and I couldn't get rid of it, but I didn't name it, so squash it down. But there was someone who was ready and waiting to bring it out of me when the time was right, and this was the only other God that I had in my life. Barbara Streisand. She entered my life at about 13 and changed my life forever, and I literally just could not get enough. This was the first CD I bought with my own money in Eastbourne, and I just absolutely devoured it and fell in love with Barbara Streisand. And I started doing little Saturday school, on like Saturday theatre clubs. I did like the shows at school, in secondary school, and did basically I just fell in love with theatre and absolutely loved it. And still that thing that I was not naming was growing and growing, and I was like, oh God. Oh, I couldn't say oh God actually, because that's blasphemous, but I'd be like, oh gosh. But, so my dream turned from paradise from going to living in paradise to I just wanted to be in the West End. I just really wanted to perform. I just really wanted to sing. And all I could think about was like performing. So I did really, really hard work, and I followed that path to become a missionary in China. And I quit my dance school. I quit my, I said to college, I'm not doing it anymore. And I was learning to paint there. I was like, I'm not doing it. And they were like, why? And I was like, I'm going to become a missionary. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, so I ended up learning Mandarin and moving to China. And whilst I was there, I lost my faith in God because of something else that had happened while I was a teenager. And I won't go into it too much, but it was a person that's incredibly close to me, like a sibling to me, not my actual sibling, but a sibling of mine, revealed to me that they had been not looked after and not kept safe the way that children should be, and you all know what I'm on about, for years, by someone who was in the congregation and within their own family, who was in a position of power as well, the very same men that made decisions to change people's lives in a bad way. So I'd heard all this, and I tried to keep my sexuality down. Oh, I said it. The secret. What was it going to be? I tried to keep a lid on everything, and a secret. But while I was in China, my faith was just crumbling. And I was seeing the world from a completely different angle. And I was reading a Bible in Mandarin. And suddenly the brainwashing stopped working. Along with all the other things that I was trying to keep a lid on just weren't working. And that's when I thought, I don't believe this anymore. And then one thing led to another with another missionary from California who was also preaching in Shanghai, blah, blah, blah. One thing led to another, and we did something very naughty. And then I was like, oh gosh, I can't keep this secret anymore. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So then I left China and thought, right, I'll become a nurse. And I'll just skip away and be like, I'm moving. I've got to be a nurse over here. And I'll still be a Jehovah's Witness so I can keep my family. But then, in a conversation, I slipped up with one of my friends who was an elder in the church, like a priest. And eventually, after 5 months of a process, I got excommunicated or disfellowshipped by Brook. And yeah, when it happened, when they made the decision, I remember sat in this chair. I was in the back room with the door shut with 3 elders who had interrogated me for 3 hours. I poured my heart and soul out into them, and I said, I just can't believe this anymore. And I'm gay, and I can't say that I'm not gay. And then when they decided that it was excommunication time, I remember my body feeling like it fell through the chair. I just remember that feeling, falling through the chair. Anyway, and then I knew what it meant. It was that I was going to disappear. And it comes from the Israelites. Well, it comes basically from the teaching in the Israelites' time where they would stone someone to death. Basically, if someone's seriously sinned and they're at risk of putting the rest of the congregation in danger, then you stone them to death. The Israelites can't have someone in the tribe that's going to spread badness about them, so they'll kill them. But obviously they can't do that today, so they tell them, you cannot have anything to do with them. Don't wave at them in the street, don't smile, and don't have any communication with them. And if you do have too much communication with them, you will be excommunicated too. So it's a real big pressure. And unfortunately, my family had to do that for me. And we were a very, very close family, me, my 3 siblings and my parents, and my 2 little nieces that I had at the time. But then, whilst I was walking along the seafront, one day I had this urge to go in the sea. You know this one, literally just down the bottom, opposite King's Road. And I was on my way home from work, and I cycled along. I went there, and I just took my clothes off, and I went in my pants, my boxes. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go swimming. Went to the sea, and I didn't quite know why I was going, but I was just like, I need to be in the sea. And I blew all of my air out, and I just sank as deep as I could go. And I just sank and sank and sank. My dad had taught me to do it, just for fun in the swimming pool, to blow bubbles up. And I sank down, and I remember hearing the sound of the water. And at that moment, I thought, I just let go of something. Something let go. I think it was the beginning of my brain letting go of the brainwashing. And I think from that moment that I came up, something had shifted. So I thought, I'm going to move to Bristol. But it was because I wanted to be a nurse there, but my maths, unfortunately, was shit. Mum told me not to swear. My maths bad, so I didn't get in to the university. So I moved there anyway because I knew there was lots of art. And I moved there, and I started painting again. And I met a girl at an event, and I said, can I paint a portrait of you? And she came round, and I did an oil painting of her, and I just had my ear pierced, and I had a little blue bead from a bracelet of my niece on my earring. And I hadn't had my ear pierced at that point, up until then, because Jehovah's Witnesses can't have it done. But then I put it on, and I said, I'm going to paint you, and I put the symbol of this blue ear bead, the bead, behind her head. And then, weirdly, I put it on Instagram. People started saying, oh, can I have a copy of this? Like, what do you mean a copy? They were like, oh, you know, like a print. I'm like, what do you mean a print? Had no clue how it worked. Ended up getting them printed and copied, and people started buying them. And I put gold leaf on the goldy bits, and I started selling them quite a lot. I was like, this is fun. This is great. Okay. And then, at the same time, I started writing a story. A story came to my head. This was like the 5th one that I'd written for my nieces. And this one just kept going. And it was this subconscious story. And it turned out that my subconscious was writing a kid's version of someone being excommunicated. Surprise! But I didn't see it until three-quarters of the way through. And then, because I was writing music as well, and I was going to nightclubs, like bars and playing open mics, this person said, oh, do you write music for music? Do you like music for theatre? I was like, no, but I've written some kids' book, and I've got this book that I've written for my nieces. I could try and make it into a musical. Anyway, a year and a half later, Andrew Lloyd Webber comes to see it at the Old Vic, at the Bristol Old Vic. And I just couldn't believe my brain. I couldn't believe my eyes that there was this stage show going on of a story that I'd written for my nieces based on my family history and what had happened to me and to my uncle and just how do people disappear. And it happened. I literally done it. It literally fell out my bum. I literally don't know how it happened. Anyway, around that time, I started writing a story about a giraffe. This isn't a giraffe. And then, called Martha the Giraffe. That's the whole thing on YouTube, My Great Giraffe. It's like a kids' book musical. Martha the Giraffe has this friend called Deborah. Deborah, yes. And they were for my nieces. I didn't ask my mum and dad to put this up, so I made it small. Don't worry, I was going to put a big screen. Anyway, but my nieces. When I got excommunicated and I got cut off, I was very emotionally sad. Oh shit, I meant to... Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Am I already 80 minutes? Bugger. I'm already 80 minutes. Oh, sorry. Oh my god, sorry. I was meant to stand here. Oh, sorry, Stan. Anyway, my mum and dad, basically, my nieces, my mum and dad decided 4 years ago, also, because of everything that's happened, to also leave the religion. Yeah, hooray. They're over the back. But by doing so, they have lost their whole community. They've lost their whole family. Yeah, basically their whole family apart from me. And their whole community, and they can no longer see their 2 grandchildren because of this, and I can't see them either. But when it happened to my mum and dad, I was like, no, this can't happen. So at the time, I was also writing music in Bristol, and I said to my band, at this point, this was in 2021, I was like, I can't let this just happen, because so many people have disappeared from my family, and now it's happened to me. I can't let this happen. So I said to my band, and I'd already written all these songs while I was at disfellowships, and they're kind of like subconsciously about the situation, and I just said, I'm going to improvise a musical just go with it, just play the songs, I'm going to improvise a musical, and I'm going to tell what these songs are about. They were like, what, we don't know about the songs? No, I haven't really told anyone what the songs I've written are about. So I designed a whale because I needed a whale to tell the story, like it was Jonah and the whale in the beach. So I designed a whale, I bought a parasol off of Facebook, and I cut it up, literally again, didn't know how I was doing, but I made a whale out of a puppet because, needs must. My dad had taught me to make anything from nothing from the garage. And I made this whale puppet, which was Gale, the gay whale. And Gale, I needed gay whale to fall underwater. I was going to be chucked out of the boat, out of the religion, and then sink underwater, in the water just down the beach, and have a conversation with a whale that said, why are you underwater? And through singing her songs, I would explain to her, this was a barn in Devon, where my friends had a festival, and I said, this is where we did it, and we filmed this thing, and we improvised our way through what turned out to be a whole musical, which ended up on the main stage of the Bristol bit in 2022. So, now, it's just a whole thing, basically. We dress as Jehovah's Witnesses, then we get chucked underwater, we meet Gale the whale, it turns into like a kids' book thing. I sing her songs and float around, and then I transform into a character because I don't want my nieces to forget me. So, sorry, I am running over, but basically, have I said everything? Yeah, I think so. So, this is a little excerpt from it. Somewhere not too far from here, on a level plain of land, where the skies are wide and clear, if you reach and take my hand, you'll meet 1,000 creatures, some humble, others grand, and if you look down at your feet, you'll see it's where we stand. Step into the deepest jungle, fly up to the highest height. Get ready and we'll become more that we can become tonight. So, this is Sam Fox, Eddie Benfield, Eva Redmond, who plays the whale, Gale the whale, Tom Sorry, that was very loud. Sorry, oh God.
Brook Tate, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, what a story. What a story.